It's Linda. It's Monday morning, and I've almost got this video thing worked out. Here's open. This one is called "A Funny Thing Happened on the Way, ... I took my glasses off, so I hope I can read it, or at least maybe I can just remember what's in it. It's because I know that this topic, this grief and dying and healing and trying to recover and see the miracles in everyday life is pretty heavy. There's some pretty heavy stuff going on. So I thought I would share with you one of the chapters from something here that I'm working on again. That's the funny thing. I'm interjecting a comical break here, intermission, if you will. Things got so heavy. Yet Mom kept us, my brother and me, laughing, crying, laughing. Picture Diana on Waiting for God, one of my favorite Britcoms. She's standing in the courtyard, hands thrust upwards, shouting, "God, get me out of this cartoon." That's kind of how we both felt. Mom quotes, or mom-isms, as Bruce and I called them. Here's just a few. If you would just shut up and listen. Believe me, I know that some of these don't seem funny. If you weren't there to hear it, it's kind of like you had to be there. But, well, you'll see. For a long time, and this really isn't as funny as we thought it was, Mom had an obsession with the number 3. And for as long as we could recall, everything was in 3s. Deaths were in 3s. Births were in 3s. Happy events, sad events, everything was in 3s. If you had one of something, you probably had 3 if Mom told it. As it turned out, we were unaware we had a baby sister. That's another episode. Until the Alzheimer's kicked in. We didn't know that. So she had 3 children, and we figured that's probably where 3 came from. Mom, while she was in the nursing home, became infatuated with her doctor. We could not convince him that she had dementia at first. We couldn't get him to cooperate until we got the power of attorney, and that's when he said, well, maybe he should test her. Anyway, she was infatuated with him. She assured us time and again that he actually owned the nursing facility where she stayed, and that he was building a new home on the west side of Fort Worth for her and for him. When we told him, he tried to poo-poo it, saying, "Oh, she's just kidding, and don't worry about it. She's just joking around." Well, I tried to explain to him, you got to stop joking with her because she's serious. She's not joking anymore. She's gone to where there's no joking. It's all real. When I would ask her about his family, what was he going to do with his current wife? She said, well, he's leaving them. He should just shrug it off, no big deal. Because her focus was on getting together with Dr. K. Her crush would hit ultimate yuck when she began to undress each time she heard him coming down the hall making his rounds. Again, he tried to say that she was joking until I told him about the undressing. That's when that on top of the power of attorney, is when he really started to see things differently. Mom finally figured out which item in her room was the real telephone. For a while, she wanted us to answer the ringing porta potty. I finally gave in one day and just said, okay, fine, I'll go answer it. And I walked towards it, and she said, oh, never mind, it stopped ringing. But when she figured out the real phone, she began to use it, mainly to call for help. And while she was in the hospital, she actually called 911. Sometimes she called my brother, other times me. She'd called me one night and told me she was scared that the entire staff would be leaving for a party soon, and there'd be no one to bring medications and see after the residents at the nursing home. She also, when she was in the hospital, called to tell me that the nurse, who she called Linda, and she thought she was talking to Linda on the phone. Well, she was. It was me. It was so confusing. But she thought that she was a mummy. She also feared the administrator at the nursing home, calling him jackass most of the time. She said he would come in when the others left and harass her. She discovered later that there were no locks on the doors. None of them, not the bathroom or any of them. This worried her, so I tried to explain that some folks might lock themselves in, Mom, and staff couldn't get help for them. But she said that it meant she had no place to hide. She had her deep thought, too. She asked Bruce one day whether, if a person is cremated, will their soul burn up too? Heavy stuff. Then she complained about lack of communications that her friends were showing her. She was talking about one in particular whose name I didn't recall, and she said, she never speaks to me anymore. So I said, well, have you seen her lately? Mom said, no. I said, well, why not? Mom, she's dead. You know, that might be why she's not speaking to you. And I remember the children, she noted, that were up there all hours of the night selling drugs to the patients. And the night that she said all the staff came back from a party and were soaking wet. Can't leave out the IQ test that she said was given by Dr. K. She scored 180. We confronted the doctor about it later and asked what he really might have said to her. Seems there was a blood test, and some of the numbers, I don't know which ones, read 180. He says, she knows I was kidding when I said it was her IQ. No, you quack. She believes every word you say. It's gospel. And a few you don't say. That's gospel too. She bemoaned her living conditions, which I too found hard to take. And she told everybody that her wealthy daughter, moi, could take her to live in that huge mansion of hers if I just really wanted to. That I lived far out of town and only saw her occasionally. Now, dear reader, I've never been wealthy. I've not lived in a huge anything. And I don't live out of town. And I visited almost daily for a while. I got so tired after a while that it became weekly. But I never went very long without seeing her and daily communications with her on the phone. Okay. Do you know some folks believed her, some of the visitors, as well as some of the staff, and they would say little odd things to me when I would come to visit. Like, oh, good, you made it in from out of town. Read that. You finally had time for your mama, you bad kid. Truth is, we lived in a small apartment, my husband and I. We both worked full-time. If we had Mom stay with us, there wouldn't be any room, and nobody would be home with her during the day, and she could not be left alone. It was not safe. Even a home health care person that Medicaid would have paid for wouldn't have stayed round the clock, and she had to have supervision. Several times when she was at the assisted living facility, Benbrook fire and ambulance came to help her because she had called 911. They started charging, and she got kicked out of the assisted living apartment. It made me sad because she actually convinced herself that she wasn't wanted that we just didn't do it because we were just ornery kids. When we moved her from her apartment in the retirement community to the assisted living complex, we discovered a medical museum of Mary. We named it that, of course, out of protective humor armor that my brother and I wore constantly now over that period of time. Through the years and her many visits to the hospital, she collected quite the array of accessories fit for any patient. She had held on to all of it, I'm guessing as an homage of sorts to her stoicism and suffering. Items we found, just a few I list here: 18 bedpans, 12 ace bandages, multiple empty medicine bottles, other medicine bottles full of pills, 6 emesis basins, 3 hand, back, and knee braces, medical scrub soaps. Did she awaken during surgery and grab some, I wonder? Several wash pans, 3 or 4 pitchers and cups, and a variety of lotions, vials, gloves, a gown or two. And just when we were about to lose all humor, Bruce came across this poem and sent it to me, and I'll read that in closing today. What do you do when your mother is crazy? Mind you, we didn't write this. We could have, but we didn't. What do you do when your mother is crazy, hysterical, selfish, abusive, and cruel? What do you do when you really hate her, and it's all you can do to be distantly cool? What do you do when you find her repulsive, and the best of your memories are tinted with pain? Now she is old and needs to be near you, and you cannot stand to be near her again. How do you tell her the truth when the truth keeps accruing like some insurmountable debt? When the horror that haunts you goes back to a moment you cannot remember and cannot forget? What do you do with your love when your love has been buried so long that you can't find its grave? When love for a parent lies outside a window through which you imagine how people behave, what do you do when whatever you do must cost more than the option you failed to choose? For whether you turn to embrace or forsake her, you're left with a burden you cannot refuse. Like my brother says, in a situation like that, who needs sanity? Sometimes it feels like going crazy is the only option. And this was supposed to be funny. So, peace.